All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the American Bowhunter, the official podcast of PSE. And no better day to do a podcast for America's Bow than today, the 4th of July. And I've got an incredible guest today, Mr. Levi Marshall, all the way from Indiana. What's up, man?
Oh, nothing much. Like I said, just coming into town. I got family that lives here, so we're in and out all the time. And just being around, I knew you wanted to do this, and I wanted to do it as well because I love what you guys got going on around here. So we made it happen.
We did, man. And you are a fantastic guy to talk to. So out of all the podcasts that I've done, I think yours has been like, whenever people come and talk to me, they're like, oh, dude, Levi is just such a wealth of knowledge. He's so well-spoken. He's so articulate. So don't let us down.
Oh, God. Because when I left that one, I'm like, man, I sounded like an idiot.
No, man, it was fantastic. It was funny because after that one, I did J.R. Owen. Mm-hmm. And he was like, don't ever make me follow up Levi again.
Oh.
It was good. His was fantastic too, though, man. But
love JR.
Yes, dude. So lots going on, man. And you are, as far as like outdoorsman experience, you've kind of really accelerated your bow hunting career in the last, 6-7 years?
Yeah, Maddie actually asked me that on the way down here. And I was like, yeah, probably about 6 years is when I've always hunted my whole entire life, but like the last 6 years have been really like that's like my number one. Like I now structure my lifestyle around hunting deer.
Yeah, which is awesome, right? Anytime I talk to you about it, it's like you've already got everything in place and ready to roll, man. And so we're talking today kind of scouting for deer on new property, right? Because that's tough. I mean, if you've never been to a property, whether it's public, whether it's private, you want to be as successful as you can, as early as you can. And we know that obviously takes time to develop a relationship or understand a property, but there are some key things you can do to kind of accelerate that learning curve or, shorten that learning curve a little bit. And you're a great guy to talk about it with because everything you do is as in-depth and detailed as can be. The strategy, the thought process behind it, the amount of critical thinking you put into every aspect of your life, not only the bow hunting side, precision rifle, because you are also represent the Recon Foundation.
Yes. Yep.
Which is awesome, man.
Yep.
I mean, two things at a very high level you're very successful with. So talking to you about this is going to be good stuff, man.
Yeah, and I think it's really good to highlight right now what you said earlier is like, this is tough. Like, this is not what you see on Instagram. You know what I mean? This is like, I'm on, like right now I'm on a track record of only killing a buck every other year. And that to me is phenomenal considering like my lifestyle, the opportunities I create for myself. Like you have to take that into account. Like when you're scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and stuff and you're seeing all these people kill massive deer, their situation is not like yours most of the time. So you need to take that into account and understand that there's a process to this and you just got to let it work. And you need to consume material like this, but at the same time, you need that field experience and you need to put yourself out there and make your own opportunities.
That's it. So I just talked about this the other day. You can watch all the podcasts, listen to all of the YouTube videos or read all the articles in the world that you want and consume, but nothing beats boots on the ground, right? Time in, experience is really what makes somebody good at something. It's repetition after repetition. And yes, the podcasts and all the articles and stuff are a great way to kind of get you into that right mindset or give you some tips on where you need to start, but nothing is going to beat being there.
Yep. And like after action reports and stuff like today, I'm sure we'll talk about, I learned 2 hard lessons last year that I think will pay the listener some dividends.
So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Kind of the mindset behind scouting a new property, right? So when you get access to somewhere, whether it's local, whether it's, you're traveling to it, what are you looking for before you even get to the property? Where's your starting point?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at the things that we have available to us today. We have map software that is phenomenal. So that's obviously the first thing that I'm going to be looking at. I mean, maybe even before that, I'm looking to proximity of where I'm living. Like how long is it going to take me to get there to and from and that kind of stuff. But then going straight into mapping software, and the very first thing that you need to consider is your access to that property. Where can you park your truck? How can you walk in and out of this? Because a lot of stuff, especially if you're knocking on doors and trying to gain private access, or in some public pieces, you only have some designated parking areas and that kind of stuff, and you need to do some map studies and wind mapping and seeing what the most common wind direction is for that area and seeing where you can park your truck and where you can walk in and start putting those pieces together, because I don't care if there's a 200-inch deer on that property. If you can't get on and off of it without him knowing you're there, you're never going to have an opportunity at him. So that is the first thing, is having access to a piece.
I think that right there is a really good point. That's often overlooked, right? Before you even get to the property, how are you going to get into the property? Where are you going to park your vehicle? Which I don't think a lot of people probably really consider that. You know, they're like, I'm just going to park here and I'll walk all the way around it. But if you're, you know, that wind is blowing your scent right into bedding areas or wherever those deer are at, you're going to blow them out before you even have an opportunity.
Exactly. And you got to think outside the box sometimes too. Like, because you got to think about your situation. If you're like, man, this year I only knocked on this door and got one permission property, or I only have one public piece that's within driving distance. Sometimes you got to do some weird things. Like sometimes I'll park in the public parking spot and then I'll get on my bicycle and ride a quarter mile to a mile to another and then throw my bike in the ditch and go in there. You know, and do some, or one public piece, I only hunt it off of a boat, because it's like there's so many access points and it's so hard to get in there without deer knowing you're there. So you got to do what you got to do to get in there.
Yeah, kind of create that opportunity.
100%.
And I think you got to put in a little bit there, and depending especially where you're hunting at, the amount of the hunter density within that you really have to consider as well, right? Because if you're going in and doing the same thing everyone else is, you're not really going to have much luck. And it's going to be very difficult for you to get on any kind of high caliber or mature deer.
That's with life.
Exactly, right? You've got to kind of forge your own path and again, create your own luck and opportunity out of things, and doing what others are not willing to do. I mean, that's a big thing here in Eastern North Carolina, right? The deer hunting here is tough. It's hot all year. The rifle season opens up early, and then you got the additional pressure of the dogs. Mm-hmm. So looking at property around here, you have to kind of be strategic in where you're going to enter and access it and go beyond what most people are willing to do and not be that lazy hunter.
Yep. And so like a lot of people, like as soon as they get on a new piece, they're like, where am I going to put my tree stands? But in reality, you need to let the deer tell you where to put that stand, not basically off of just what the terrain tells you to do.
Yeah, that's good, because it's real easy to get in somewhere and you're like, man, this looks so deery. Mm-hmm. This is perfect. And then, you know, you set your stand up and you're like,
why am I not seeing it?
Why am I not seeing any deer? Turns out there's no deer here. They're all down there, buddy. You need to move. Yep. People get locked into an area right away based off, false intel, essentially.
Yeah, but speaking of North Carolina, sometimes that has its merits, though. Sometimes you got to sit a spot 2-3 days, give it a fair shake before you pull chocks and go somewhere else because of the density. They could be pushed the day before by dogs and you weren't there to see it or know it. So it's tougher for sure.
Yeah, but it's different. I know you're glad to be away from it.
That's why I moved.
So when you, what are you looking for, like in the first 10 minutes, when you get on a piece of property, you've got that access point, and you are boots on the ground, what is the first thing you're looking for when you get there?
Difference. So it's got to be different than everywhere else. And mainly like vegetation. It's got to be thick. I think I said this on the last podcast, and I don't remember. I still don't know where I got it from, but I imagine having like a big yellow softball. And if I can throw that thing and still see that softball, there's not a deer there, or they're not the deer that I want. Like it's got to be hard to see, thick, high stem count, cattail marshes, stuff like that. And I'm looking for that terrain diversity. The main piece that I hunt in Indiana right now, it's a very, very big, but it's 98% of it's just rolling hills, wide open oak timber. And first and foremost, it's hard to walk around it because you can see a long ways on the underbrush and stuff, like that. But I need to find that diversity. I'm looking for those edges, that thick cover, thick green briar patches, thick creek bottoms, stuff like that. Something you need cover. That deer's got to be somewhere where he feels safe, and that's the first thing. Rolling into a new property, pick where I want to park. I think the wind is right to where I can access this, and the first thing I'll do is do a perimeter check, either walk or drive around the property circumferentially, or if it's a large piece, picking a chunk of it and piecing it out, like printing out a map or something and circling an area. I think this is my 1, this is my 2 area, this is my number 3 that I think is going to be good, and then just doing perimeter checks to start. Are tracks coming in and out, or what are they doing and stuff like that?
That's a good point too, because depending on what the property is you have access to, right? Some pieces are large pieces of property, and it's almost overwhelming when you look at it. It's like, man, where do I even begin?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the mapping side of things come into play for you, I assume.
Yeah. So, and then once I know where I can park, I do a perimeter check, and now I'm going to start diving into that property. The first thing that I'm going to be looking for is south facing slopes. And then it's going to be like, are there creeks or rivers or streams where I can see where the crossings are and see if I can cut a big track, and then start lining it out from there.
So whenever you get into those, are you focusing? So right away, are you focusing on deer sign, terrain features? I know we talk, access first, but then from there, is it sign or is it terrain features?
It's depending on the time of the year. If it's post season, which is the number one time you need to be in the woods scouting, as soon as your season closes, the next follow on 2-3 months is when you need to be in the woods. The vegetation is still off so you can see farther, you can see more, and you can still see some of that sign from October, November, and December, and you can start putting some more pieces together. Where if you wait until summer, green's up, you can't see, tracks are harder to find, the deer are going to be in a different place anyway. I think you only do summer scouting when you absolutely have to. That is the case sometimes. Sometimes that's all you got to do. But if it's a piece that you're really serious about, and you need to do it in the postseason, and then I'm looking for sign. If I'm there preseason, or if I'm there in the summer, I'm looking for those spots where I'm expecting deer to shift to, because that end of September, early October timeframe, when those deer are transitioning their areas, I'm looking for those places to shift. That's why south-facing slopes, it usually has higher stem count, higher vegetation, more cover on those areas. Not always, but looking at a map, those are the spots I'm going to hit first.
Oh, okay, that's smart. So honestly, the best approach is just right after the season, right?
Or during the season.
Or during.
Like if while I'm hunting, I'm actively scouting. And that's another thing too, is like when I'm in there scouting, I'm not looking for sheds, even though I found the biggest shed of my life this year.
I saw, is that the one you posted on Instagram?
Yeah, I just randomly I stepped on it. That's how I found it. But I don't go in there with I'm not bringing my fishing pole. I'm not trying to fish while I'm there. I'm doing one thing, or else I'll get sidetracked and stuff. So I think that's another takeaway too, is I dedicate that time, is I'm not doing anything but scouting this little chunk that I have mapped out.
I think that's why you do things so well, is because you put 100% of your attention into what you're doing, so that you're fully focused on it, versus just kind of haphazardly wandering around, missing things, that, you probably should have keyed in on.
Absolutely. Because it's like getting into deer sign, that was one of your topics too, is the sign's got to make sense.
That's another talking point. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so we'll get to that, I guess, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. It does. And that's one of the things, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode, but that's one of the key talking points I've got. But before we get there, when we talk about scouting, do you have a different approach when it comes to public versus private? Or is it very similar?
I don't think so. Because even when I'm on a public piece, if the deer are telling me I need to be in this tree, I don't care if it's right next to somebody else hunting. If I think the wind direction is still okay and maybe he didn't blow it out or something, I'll walk right by somebody and set up to where I need to be, and give the efforts that I put into that spot the due diligence. Because especially if I drive 45 minutes to 3 hours to get to a spot and there's a truck in the parking lot, I'm already here.
You're committed, man.
I'm in. You know what I mean? And it's I just have to, this might sound a little conceited, but put the eggs in the basket of I'm better than him. I have a better plan, and I have to convince myself of that, and that my access is better, my wind direction is better. I know more about what's going on. And maybe he's just out on a weekend. He had the day off and decided to go hunting. So.
Yeah. No. So as far as digital tools that you use, what are some of your key ones? Because I know you have a handful of different tools that you use when it comes to observing a property.
Yeah. So I got not involved, but I started using OnX from when it started. So I already have so many data points and stuff like that. So I haven't changed any other really mapping software, but then I do, and I know Spartan Forge has a lot of new stuff coming out as far as mapping goes, but I use their windrows or whatever. I'm not sure what they call it, but they have a wind feature on there to where you can see the predominant winds for that area. And it's on a circle, and it shows you this is red because it's most, and then it fades into green with your least likely or something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, or do your own research on it, but it's something similar to that. And that's what I'll look for. Like in this area, it's predominantly a southwest wind. So that's where my access and my parking and setups need to be primarily focused on. So I use that. And then another one is Windy, the app Windy. So it shows a map overlay, and then it actually has like little flowing molecules of what the wind direction is doing. And then you can look so many days in advance, and being able to at least ballpark. I mean, it's obviously going to be way different a lot of times when you're on the ground, but at least you have a starting plan. Or if you think, or if it'll tell you a wind shift too. It's like, oh, in the morning it's like 5 miles an hour from the southwest, but at noon it's going to shift to a straight north. Like you need to be ready. Like that is huge because that deer doesn't have Windy.
Right. Yeah, you know? He's not using the same technology you are.
No, and I'm telling you, these deer have specific bedding areas for specific wind directions. And if he's in a southwest bed and it shifts to a north, he's like, man, I'm not comfortable. I need to move. He's going to be ample to get up on his feet sooner in the day.
You should be ready to capitalize.
Yep. What's another one? I had another one I wanted to talk about. I do the moon guide. Like if I'm traveling out of state and stuff like that, I will go around the moon guide.
What? So when you talk about the moon phases and stuff, what are you looking for? Like red moon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get into the weeds really about the science behind it. It's just like, but as far as like scheduling out of state, normally I don't care what the wind or weather is doing. If I think I have an opportunity, I'm going to go in there and try. Obviously hunting cold fronts and like waiting. I think waiting for a specific wind direction is more important than that stuff. That's my number one, but those are factors. They are something that I consider. And if I only have a certain amount of time to go out of state, then I'm going to look at that moon guide. And if it's favorable, then I'll try it out. Cause there's a lot of dudes that kill a lot of big deer. Then they say that. So it's like, it's got to have some merit to it.
It does. So Joe Long, he's the one that's turned me on that. He's like, man, I can't explain everything.
Me neither.
But he was like, all the big deer I've killed, they line up with this. Here's the app you need to use. And he's like, if I'm hunting and I'm hunting a mature deer, he's like, that's when I'm on them.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, and then and then mentally, when your access is locked on, you waited for that perfect wind direction, the moon phase lines up, and it's like, dude, you're so amped, and now it's like you're not breaking sticks on the way, like you're confident. Yeah, you are tuned in, and that's my favorite.
Yeah, because it's easy to just hunt, right? Mm-hmm. Especially whenever you're busy and you're working and I'm just gonna head out in the woods. But it can also be detrimental to your hunting because you're just in there at the wrong times, and it can really blow a spot out, ruin your chances of seeing a deer at all, just by being there to be there. But that's what you're talking about. Whenever you key in onto weather patterns and specific conditions and wind patterns and all that, and you're in the woods and you're not just hunting just to hunt, you're there and you're zoned in, it's different.
Yeah. That's when I made the switch to just hunting deer to hunting big deer, that was what caught me. And that's like, man, I know he's in here and I have a serious opportunity. And then your eyes are like saucers the whole time. You're not moving in your tree stand.
You're not on your phone.
You're not on your phone. It's like hours go by. It doesn't matter. It's pouring down rain. Doesn't matter. It's like, that's what really gets me going.
Yeah. That for me too, when I go out of state, that's when I'm more able to turn that on, versus just weekend hunting. You go when you can, yada, yada. But whenever you plan a trip and you're like, oh, I'm going there. I've got 5 to 7 days. It's game time. Yep. It's just a different feeling. To me, that's super enjoyable.
And that comes down to me like hunting and not hoping. Like I'm not sitting in my tree stand unless I think I have an opportunity. If I don't think I have a shot, it's like, especially if I'm hunting a deer on a piece of property and I'm waiting for the right weather conditions and stuff, I'm scouting somewhere else. I'm not sitting in a tree stand. I mean, I'll have my bow with me and stuff. I've been lucky like that before, but I'm not focused on, I'm not going to go just sit in a tree stand just to sit.
Yeah. I think that's one of the quotes we need to put on a t-shirt. Are you hunting or are you hoping? That's what we talked about. That's the name of one of the episodes from a previous podcast that we've done, which, it really resonated with a lot of people. There was a lot of people that really liked that, man, and really tuned in. And you've created a lot of opportunity that way as well, right? Just because again, you're a very proactive hunter. You don't just sit and wait. You're not so reactive. You create opportunity and kind of create your own luck in a sense as well with some of the other stories that you've had. I mean, you know, just from observing, getting down, putting a move on, putting a stalk on deer. You have some really pretty awesome stories, man. But back to the scouting side of things, trail cameras. Are you still a big proponent of trail cameras?
No. I'm slowly fading away from trail cameras.
Why?
Because one, I'm on properties now where they're not allowed, or hunting areas where you're not allowed. And I'm like, man, this is honestly way better. And I think you definitely hedge your bet with trail cameras. They definitely help. They help me focus on properties, like letting me know where a deer I want to shoot is and stuff like that. But man, dude, I think I spend more time changing batteries and checking SD cards and troubleshooting cell cameras and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, man, this isn't what it's about. And I also kind of like changed my mindset a little bit of like trying to speed the process up. And it's like, I don't need that confirmation to be labeled a good hunter to myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm perfectly comfortable waiting a couple of years before I kill a buck, because when I do kill one, it's going to be one that everybody else would have wanted to shoot, you know? So it's like, I'm not trying to speed the process up anymore as much. And trail cameras, I think definitely can help. They can be used appropriately, and they are tools, but I'm slowly fading. I'm still going to be running a couple, but I'm not doing a cell plan anymore. When I set a trail camera up, it's there for the season, and I'm checking it after. Like I'm not gonna, unless I'm like really scrambling to find a deer. That's probably how I'm gonna start implementing them. Like if I can't find one under my own means, scouting, visual, driving around, hunting, actively hunting, then I'll probably start pulling some SD cards and seeing who's in the zoo and stuff like that. But I don't think they're a necessity.
Do you think, at least I feel like people end up becoming too reliant on some technology.
Cool. Yeah. That's happened to me plenty of times.
It's really easy to kind of get sucked down that rabbit hole, and, you know, you just camera after camera, you got all these cell plans going on, and you just live to check the cell phone or the cell plan at 4:00 in the morning.
It is fun.
It is fun, but it also, I think, deters people from going in the woods.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of keep you out of the woods sometimes.
And it's like, you have a lot of people too that you see in the social realms and stuff, like they have like 100% surveillance on their properties. Like not a squirrel moves without a trail camera picture. And it's just like, what are we doing at this point too, you know? So I think it definitely has its case. And there's different avenues to this too. Like people have different goals, different motives and stuff. So whatever, if they align with your goals and you're using them effectively, absolutely. I think it's a tool that you can use. But me personally, I'm slowly backing away from that.
Yeah, one of the things with me is I get lazy with them, and I get put in the woods, and then it dies, and I'm like, it's part of the woods now. How much money is out there?
Right on the top of my head, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras that I haven't seen in 2 years. I don't even know if they're there.
They're part of the woods now.
They are
hundreds of dollars just set in the woods for eternity.
Yep. Because it's like, I would get onto a new piece of public. I think I would have to be so far back down deep and stuff in there, or even on a private piece that I thought was going to be good, and it turned out to be trash, and I lost confidence in it, and I have a camera out there that I still have to go get. You know,
let's be real. It's just there now.
Yeah. It's a tree.
It's a tree. Yeah. It's grown up around it already. Those loggers that come through and log it are going to find it.
Yeah. And it's like for a while there, like I started like trying to like film my hunts and take pictures, like, because it's like, I wanted to justify that I was seeing these deer from my tree stand. I didn't need a trail camera. But then I was like, I don't need to show people that, it's just for me anyway. So I kind of like backed off of the filming thing too. But man, you'll be surprised on what your intuition and what your instincts will do in the woods if you just let it happen.
Yeah, especially when you get tuned in, man, which takes a little bit of time, right? It's hard to especially if you're just kind of a weekend hunter, to disconnect and then reconnect. I notice for me, whenever I go out of town, it's a lot easier for me to do, because after I'm in the woods for a couple days, because I'm out there consistently, you really hone in on things. You see things differently. You smell things differently. Just the way you observe the woods in general, the way you move through the woods, you start to like redevelop those skills. And for me, it takes a couple days.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are in the game. They just don't even know it, but they blow their opportunity during their access by being too loud. Like, you're playing the wind and all that kind of stuff, but you're a little lax on your way in, making a little bit of noise, especially if you're mobile hunting and you're setting up your tree stand, because you need to be within a couple hundred yards of these things to have an opportunity before daylight sets. And if you're making noise, then he's probably you're probably in his bubble, but he heard you and he's just going to sit there and wait till dark, and then he's going to go a different direction.
Yeah, he's going to skirt you.
So it's like, you got to be in it, man. When you're going in the woods, you're there for one purpose.
Yeah, I think if you can get in that mindset, it really, I mean, and again, instead of just hoping, you're actually hunting, getting in that mindset to, access correctly, just take your time, because a lot of people get in a rush.
Yes.
And I find myself doing it, and I don't know why. I have no idea why I feel like I need to rush to this stand.
Yep.
Like, it's going to make a difference. If I take and ease my way in, walk a little slower, instead of just walking and beelining to the stand, walk, stop, observe, slowly make my way in, typically have a little bit more success.
Absolutely.
It's weird how that
definitely
works.
have more success.
But I don't know what it is. It's like I get in my own head. I'm like, I've just got to be at the stand.
Dude, it's the society we live in today. Everything's now.
Yeah, you're right.
And
that's a good way to look at it. Need it now.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Not in the deer.
No.
They're prey, man. That's their whole life is based on avoiding death.
Yes. Especially if you're on a public piece, dude. Those guys do not play.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt, man. So, as far as stand sites, are you marking them ahead of time, like whenever you're e-scouting and stuff, or do you like, hey, this is a point of interest, I'll probably hang a stand here, or are you like, no, these are just points of interest, I'm going to go scout them, and then you determine where you're going to hang your stand? Like, how does that work for you?
So if so the next layer of scouting a new property, once again, perimeter check, looking at creeks, looking at south-facing slopes, grid searching, that whole thing. This is why it's so important to do it in the postseason too, because you can walk everywhere and do anything.
Not screw it up.
Exactly. And I'm not coming back in there until I'm in kill mode. And then I'm looking for trees. I'm looking for sign that makes sense. And it's like the holy grail for me right now is a scrape downwind of buck beds. So if I think I'm in a good area where I think a buck could bed, I'm looking for a scrape downwind of that. And if there's not one, I'm putting one in. Big fan of mock scrapes.
When are you putting mock scrapes in?
That's 2-part. When I find one, if I find a site that I think is going to be a good spot, I'll mark it, but then I'll come back in later and actually put it in, because I don't want to because I'm going to have human scent intrusion, all kinds of craziness in there. And a lot of times, if I just hang a branch and mark the ground up, sometimes if it's in the right spot, the deer will find it and they'll take it over right there. You don't have to go buy stuff and put it in there. If it's in a good spot, usually there's already one there, and maybe you got to fix it up, or you need to just adjust it to get it closer to a better tree. They'll find it a lot of times. But I want to have, like, because I'll use last year as an example. So last year I wounded the buck I was after and never found him.
That thing was huge.
Yeah, he was a thug.
It was like a cow.
He was a thug.
Dude, he was thick.
So I had a tree picked out that was more of an observation tree that I knew I could get in there in the morning, easy and clean. And I was still in the game, but kind of out of the game. So I got in that tree. I watched him go into that bedding area right at like dark, right as daylight was coming in. I didn't have a shot. He was a little bit too far. He was probably 60 yards away, filtering into where I thought he was going to go. And then I pulled my whole set and got down and moved in on him and got closer to his trail, and then sat there for 10 hours just to wound him. And waited for the evening for him to come back out of there. But so I really like that I'm looking for like the easy access, eyes on, because like I said, not running the trail cameras hardly at all anymore. I'm my trail camera. So I want to be somewhere safe, somewhere that I can see, and kind of an observation, kind of still in the game, and then making my move in the afternoon. All the bucks that I killed in North Carolina were a morning sit, and then I moved my stand midday, came back in the evening and killed him.
So that deer that you shot last year, you watched him go in, you watched him bed down, you moved your stand to him. Did he come back out the same way he went in?
No, it was a little bit different, but based off of the wind direction, and I knew I was trying to cut. It was like a V. I was trying to cover two separate trails. Like he came in on this one, and he ended up exiting on this guy, just based off of wind direction.
And so with that wind, was the wind primarily in his favor?
For everybody else, he knew where everybody else was, but I came in the back door, slipped in there, and was somewhere safe. I wasn't making a lot of noise in the morning, set up in the dark, seen where he was, made sure that he was in his bed, safe, comfortable, and then I took 2 hours to move another 100 yards, set my stand 8 foot off the ground as quietly as I humanly could, and he went out. He kind of left the same way because everybody else was on the other side, where the normal access is, where everybody else comes from, where all the other people are. And so the wind was coming from that direction. So he knew where they were. He could smell them. And when it got dark, right at last light, he came out that back door to go start his day.
So he was just chilling all day in there.
Yep. And it's like, it's a perfect spot that I found too, because like, I don't look specifically for one bed, because I don't think that's true. I think he's got a bedding area because deer have to feed so many times a day to survive. So he's got to get up and move around every couple of hours to go.
But he's just staying relatively close.
He's got a bubble. He's like, man, if I'm in this bubble, nobody can get me. And that's what you got to figure out, is how to get in that bubble and make the shot happen.
So you were only 8 feet off the ground.
Yep.
There's a lot of, is your height for when you hang a stand based off of where you are?
Absolutely. This is a very high stem count. Like if I got over 8 feet, I couldn't see the ground.
Gotcha.
So I had to be low to see what I needed to see.
What time of year was that?
That was November 2nd.
Do you only hunt a window? I know we talked about this. You sent me a text. Do you have like I won't hunt early season? Like
no.
Okay.
No, I will hunt any day of the year that is legal.
That you can.
That I think I can make a move. But as far as when it's November, like 6th, 7th, and 8th, like look at the history books. That's when the most giants have been killed. So like when I'm in that window, I'm sitting all day and I'm not leaving the woods, because it's like at that time of the year, you don't know what's going to happen. You know, so it's like literally a deer from 5 miles away could show up. And if you're on a good pinch point, you might have an opportunity at a giant, you know? So it's like the time I put in the woods is significantly more in there. Every other time I'm only hunting evenings, unless I'm sitting, but I'm not doing something in the mornings. I'm sitting in observation post. I'm driving, I'm doing something else, but I'm only sitting in the evenings and those other times of the year pretty much.
So what about when it comes to like, is there like a common, like, where was that in Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was in Ohio. Is there a common terrain feature that you see with these big mature deer? Is it just thick, nasty stuff? Is it saddles? I mean, is it inside corners, thermal hubs? I mean, like what is water?
It's going to all come down to security. Wherever they can find that security, they got a good wind direction, they got thick cover. You're probably going to find if you live in a state that holds big deer and you find one of those spots, there's probably a deer using it. You'd be surprised.
What about like North Carolina when you were here, when you were hunting this stuff? Because it's so green everywhere. Everything, when you look at a map, everything looks the same.
Yep.
It's flat. It's just very thick. Are you looking for like edges?
Yeah, like clear cuts when they do a cut or something like that. You want to be because when that new growth starts popping up, that's what deer like to eat. When something just buds and those new leaves come up, that's when they're the most nutritious and they have like the most value for the deer. So that's when they're going to be hitting that kind of stuff. But honestly, man, it's a lot more boots on the ground here because you got to find that micro terrain. Where in the Midwest is like I got like fields, I got rolling hills, I got rivers and creeks.
You can see the difference.
Yeah.
And because you sent me a map, you're like, don't send this to anybody. I'm like, bro, I'm going to post this on Instagram.
Yeah,
right
I was
now.
like, don't blow up my spot.
You did such a good job with how you mapped it out for me, right? Like, I'm like, hey, do this for a toddler. And you did, man. And you know, colors and everything. But looking at the aerial view of where you were hunting, and I don't remember if it was in Indiana or Ohio.
That was in Indiana.
Was it Indiana?
Yeah.
But it was so clearly defined, right? You had fields and then you had transition zones with small amounts of woods that they can cover, and then they had bigger blocks of woods. And you can, like, where you set up was like perfect, but you can see exactly, it's very much easier to identify the way the deer moves in that versus it is here in North Carolina where it all looks the same.
Yeah, and and once I have that stand location, like where I was at this morning, like that's like pretty set in stone. Like I'll use that for years on end. And it's like, if I got the right conditions, I don't need a trail camera. I'm going to go to that tree, and my chances of seeing a deer in that area is very good. And it's just whether I want to shoot him or not. And then it's like, okay, move on to the next spot, which I'm trying to get those locations in every area. Now, once I know a deer is on a property that I want to kill, then the gloves come off. And then I'm starting to do because when I moved that morning closer to that buck I wounded last year, I moved my tree stand 3 times throughout the day based off of wind direction. It was just little ebbs and flows and moving and changing. And I was like, I'm not in the right spot. I can't cover that trail. Ooh, I want to change this because now I can cover this trail too. And it's like all day I'm perfecting that.
So that's one thing about you I've noticed is you're willing to adapt, right? Because it's very easy to get sucked in and you're like, this is where I'm sitting. I'm not moving. Too much effort, or, just a fear of missing out. People get really locked into an area. They put their blinders on and that's it. And this is the tree, so that's kind of cool to hear that you're in one day, you moved multiple times.
And I'm only moving feet. Like sometimes it's the tree right next to me. Like sometimes I climb a tree and be like, nah, this isn't it. And then you got to tear all your stuff down quietly. Cause I was within probably 150 yards of that deer all day.
They could hear and see
very
easily if you made any noise.
And it's time of year too. Like if it's November 5th, 6th, and 7th, I'm getting as high up in a tree as I can and I'm riding it out for the day if I know I'm in a good pinch point. But like when I'm on one like that, it's like I want to be low to the ground. That's less sticks. That's less movement. And that's like one of the points that I was going to make is not just doing your scouting, not just picking a tree stand location. You need, once you get to that level of finding the tree, you need to manipulate. What's that word?
Manipulate?
Like you got to figure out exactly how you want to set the platform of your saddle, of your tree. Like it's got to be thought out meticulously. Because it's like I got burned twice last year that my tree stand should have been 45 degrees this way, but I was 45 degrees that way. I got sucked into the thing of like using the tree as like a barrier, and I ended up doing that on the deer that I shot too. But man, like you just really got to think about it. You got to make sure you got good cover. You got to make sure that you can move and you're not making noise when you move. And it's like that to me now is the next step. The next layer is like making sure that my sets are hung perfect.
It's a thinking man's game. So I got a good story for that too, because I was in Kentucky. I think I told you about it. And this was, I don't remember if it was, I think it was 2 years ago, because last year I took Gavin and it was focused around him. But 2 years ago, I hung in like a cedar tree. I kind of cut myself in, relatively low, but I had seen a bunch of good deer coming through that area. So I was like, this is the spot, buddy. And hung my stand. I'm like, you ain't going to beat me this time. There's no way that I know exactly where you're going. Well, I watched some other little small bucks come in to my strong side, which I was like, that's where they're rolling. Not the big guy. This dude comes directly, cuts in front of me by about, I would say probably 22 yards. And he comes behind this big tree. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's on my weak side. I got to move. So I'm shimmying all the way around and trying to get in position. And he comes through this stuff that you never think any deer would be able to walk through. He comes right through it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I go to draw back on this deer and I didn't have a good back cover because my back cover was on this side. And right before I get anchored into my peep, he's like, gotcha, I'm out. And
yeah.
I was like,
and I had the perfect cover for the trail that I was shooting this last year. And I had a hole cut out, or not, I didn't cut out a hole. I had a lane that was at 22 yards, and that was going to be the spot.
Yep.
And when I grunted at him, and I'm behind the tree, so I'm waiting for him to come into that spot, and then I grunted at him to stop, and without even breaking stride, he just turns and starts walking right at me. And then I'm now just a dude hanging off the side of a tree, 8 foot off the ground. And then he gets to, it was like sub 12 yards. It was like 9, 10, 11 yards. And he looks right up at me. And I'm at full draw staring at him. I'm like, now or never, dude. And hit him right in the chest. And then I only got one lung as it went completely through him. And then I never recovered. I watched him go down twice. I watched him bleeding like crazy, thought it was over. And then that was it.
They're tough, man.
I found him the next day, still alive. Couldn't make a move on him. And then after that, I never seen him again.
Yeah. I think one thing with hunting too is people get greedy when they hang a stand, right? As a bow hunter, you've got to be very selective and very meticulous with what you do, especially like you guys hunt these mature deer. Mm-hmm. And people tend to get greedy with their shot opportunities, right? They're like, I've got 360 degrees. Don't work that way, man. You've got, that's how it was for me in Kentucky. I had my shot window and that was it. And when he skirted around me, I was like, man, that's
the game.
That was it, man. He played it a little bit better than I did. And he was 8 yards from me. And man, I watched him come in and I was like, oh buddy, everyone's going to love this one. And he's like, nope, see you, buddy.
Yeah.
No, but that's what it is, man. I saddle hunting is such a big thing, right? Everyone loves the saddle game. It's great. I think everything has its place, from a hang on to a ladder stand, to a blind, to saddle hunting, they all have their place. But I noticed with guys, especially new guys getting into the saddle game, is they're like, I got 360 degrees of shot opportunity. And it's like, that is probably not going to play to your advantage.
Definitely not. And I think it's a great tool too. Like I wear a TX5 minimalist saddle. They don't make it anymore, but that's my harness. But I hunt out of a hang on tree stand. So I can turn around and flip it around if I feel like I need to. Like I said, I do like to use that tree as cover if I feel like I have to, but I'm a hang-on guy.
Yeah, I kind of go that hybrid route too, right? I like to hang on with the saddle because I can do the best of both worlds. Mm-hmm. And typically, for me, I feel I move less when I'm sitting down.
Oh, yeah.
When
I was in a saddle, I was dancing.
Dude, you're up there just living your best life.
Yep.
And it's easy to do, and they are very comfortable. I mean, people that say they aren't, maybe you just haven't found the right saddle that fits you correctly.
Yep. But
they are comfortable, and it does give you a lot of great. You can scale any tree, you can hang from anywhere, which is very cool, right? Especially when the really thick stuff, the smaller trees you want to get cut into.
And it's super safe.
Super safe. I put my son in one, which is probably why we didn't see we saw a lot of deer in Kentucky, but he was just excited to be there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a little bit easier to move around and sway. You don't even realize you're swaying, and you're swaying.
Yep.
But yeah, I like that hybrid approach. So I'd carry a small lock on, right now I've been using the XOP retrograde or the Cold World. Mm-hmm. Cold World, I think is what it's called, which they don't make anymore. But it's very low profile. Or attach my sticks right to it and pack that thing in, man.
And it's like new stands are weighed just as much as a saddle platform. So it's like, what's the difference? And it's like,
you got best of both worlds too.
Yeah.
You can really, I like being able to sit in a tree that really takes up majority of my silhouette and kind of cut myself into where I've got some good cover. And then again, hoping I know exactly where they're coming. So I've got that one window because, if not, you're like, oh man, it was cool to see you.
Yep, and just tip your hat and be like, you won today.
That's it.
See you tomorrow.
That's the fun thing about it, man. It's just that constant battle, man, that cat and mouse game back and forth.
Yep.
So what about, how do you treat mature buck sign differently from general deer sign? Because that's confusing for a lot of people, right? How do you,
Like, I think I'm pretty good at telling the difference between bucks and does. But at the same, it's different from here than it is where I'm at. Like I'll be walking through the woods and I'm like, ooh, that's good sign, blah, blah, blah. But then when you see good sign, it's like, this is different. Like that track is 3 times the size of all the other tracks I've been looking at all day. Or you just see a rub that's just insane. Or you find a mega shed and you're like, oh, this is for sure. So it's not easy. And sometimes you got to try stuff out and see it for yourself. I'm going to burn a sit on this area, see what I see. And see who's making this sign, because that's the tough part, because especially when you get into early November and into November and stuff, you got deer traveling miles and miles and miles. You got young bucks all rutted up thinking they're the baddest thing in the world and they can make a huge scrape or make a big rub and stuff. So sign is definitely an evolving thing for me too. But when you see it, you'll know at the same time. And it's got to make sense, like I said before. If you're in a wide open oak flat and you got a scrape out there, you're probably not going to see a deer in daylight hours hitting that scrape. It's got to be in a spot that makes sense.
That makes sense. So one of the things too is like when it comes to deer sign is you got to know, like you'll see there'll be guys that come in we talk to and they're like, man, there's scrapes everywhere, but they're not hitting those scrapes during the day.
That's why you need that downwind scrape from a buck's bed, because that's the only one that he can't get to by smelling it. Because a lot of times when you see a hammered trail, I start going to the downwind side of that hammered trail and looking for that one that's less used, because that's probably the one that he's on, because he can run downwind to that trail and smell out like that, whatever estrus scent or what other bucks are in the area, even on scrapes too. Like once you get into late November, they're not on those scrapes anymore because they just need to smell them. Who's here, who's not. Okay, on to the next one.
Right.
And it takes them that fast. So being downwind of those things, or being close to the one that's next to their bedroom that they have to come out and check first before they start their day, that's where a lot of big deer get killed.
What about when it comes to pressure? Like how does that influence where you expect to find big bucks?
Man, it bit me this year, but a lot of times pressure can help you. Like if you're willing to do the extra mile, you can. When a deer grows up in a specific place, like I think it's hard pressed to say that he's going to pick up and move where he grew up. Like when he got kicked out of his herd as a young buck, when his mom kicks him out and he goes and finds his own new area and he's like, okay, this is where I'm going to live. Like that's where he's established himself. And I think pressure really, he just learns how to avoid it, living amongst it and using it. So like if you're doing your due diligence, I mean, I'm not going out looking for pressure, but if it's there, it's not necessarily a deterrent. I'm going to give it its fair shake. I'm going to do my scouting. I'm going to probably sit it a few times. And if I see a deer I want to kill, like I know of a buck that I want to kill right now that's in a very well populated area. I know a lot of people know about him, but I'm going to bet on me and I'm going to try to get it done.
So you can kind of use pressure to your advantage, right?
It's not fun though. It's kind of a headache and it's a pain in the ass, but I mean, you can use it.
Yeah, because didn't you say that? I don't know if we were talking about scouting or whatnot, but they're in an app you can put like a kill zone, like where.
Oh yeah, it's on Onyx. Like if I find somebody else's tree stand, I can put a pin on it, and then you can put a radius on it, 100, 200, whatever yards, and it's like, man, he's probably not going to be in this little ring.
So going back to the scouting side of things, if you're walking a public piece and you're like, okay, marking tree stand, you can create that ring and then kind of look at where a deer would probably navigate between those stands.
Yeah, but now you're reading people sign.
Right.
And I don't take that lightly either. I'm looking at that tree stand. Are the straps intact? What's the seat look like? Is there trash laying around? How often is this hunted? How is it set up? Is he probably a gun hunter? Or could you shoot a bow out of this thing? Where are the deer trails? How close does he want these things? You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. And if I think he's a non-threat, then I don't even care. But I mean, the deer that I killed 2 years ago now, that property, it's gone because the property owner let somebody else hunt on it. He put a tree stand right in the middle of the bedding area that I killed him out of. And I got Tinks spray bottles and food wrappers. And it's like, I won't go back there now. That spot burned. Oops. That, you know what I mean?
Set up right in the middle.
Literally couldn't be a worse spot. And now I lost my number one property.
How much property is it?
It was 80 acres.
And it's
when I know where I need to be to kill the deer that I want to kill, like that 80 acres could have been 3 acres. It doesn't matter. I know that tree that I was in is the one, and he compromised it. And now it's like the way the access works, and I just can't get in and out of there without it working, man. So it's kind of just a mark on the chalkboard, cross it off.
So that's a good point too with people, right? When it comes to looking at properties, like if you can't access it, there's no reason to hunt it.
No. Like I said, it doesn't matter how big the deer living on there is. You're not going to get them.
Yeah. So again, it comes back to access is king for everything.
Yep. And it's like the way that properties are parceled out now and like big chunks are turned into little chunks. It's like you can't get in some of these places without, like I had the permission slip to get on that property to kill that deer. And then I had 3 permissions access just to walk across their yards, walk through their cornfields, you know what I mean, to get onto that property. Like it was 4 permission slips to come hunt one deer. Yeah, it was kind of a pain in the butt. And that's where public is kind of nice. You don't need any of that kind of stuff, and you got room to play and move and groove, and you can take the long route in if you have to. If you got to go out of the way a couple miles and loop in, you can do that. Where
I'm not going to ask anybody's permission for
exactly, and private gets kind of weird.
Yeah, private makes it tough, man.
It's not fun sometimes.
It's harder and harder to find good private land to hunt anyways now.
Yeah, every year I'm marking them off, and I'm not getting very many back.
So when it comes to like public land and how is it different in like Indiana versus the public land here? Were you saying, I thought we talked about like hunting Indiana was a high hunter density.
It is.
It makes it very difficult to find good access for public there.
Yeah. I mean, it's state by state. You got to read the regulations, and that's another aspect of the game too. Like I know November 14th, rifle season kicks on in Indiana. Their season only goes to January 1st, which also doesn't help because the weather's usually not bad enough by then to really get them. So once rifle season kicks off the rest of November, muzzleloader comes in December. So it's basically a gun season from middle of November till the end of the season. And it's tough if I don't have my buck down by then. But I also came up with a new strategy. I have a new place that only allows 3 gun days a year. So it's completely flipped my Indiana hunting for sure, for good.
So you'll be hunting more Indiana?
I haven't killed a buck in Indiana yet.
Home state.
Yeah, and I've found them, but I just haven't been able to. I haven't even shot at one yet.
Really?
Nope. But they're there, dude.
Dang. And you're talking public land out there?
Yeah, public land, or I don't want to say too much, but land that I have access to, but also a significant amount of other people have access to, but it's also limited a little bit, but mostly public. Because I did the private thing for 2 years up there. Didn't kill anything because of other people. Like the people density where I live is very high. So if somebody's getting access, if I'm getting access to it, so are other people. And one property was blown up because of one big deer that was found on there that I was hunting him for a long time. And then some other kid got a trail cam picture of it, called his dad, got everybody else kicked off. So it's like, it's a drama mess sometimes too, but
yeah, that kind of takes the fun out of it sometimes.
Yeah. And that's why, man, it's just like, I'm slowly gravitating away from that kind of stuff. I don't need it.
What about, so early season or a new property, how aggressive should somebody be with a new, when they get access to a new property, or, whether it's public or private? How do you distinguish that?
Great question. When I first get a property, I'm first and foremost, it takes me, maybe this just tells me like I'm bad, but like it takes me 2-3 years to kill a deer on a property sometimes. So
but
like
you're chasing that, but there's kind of a difference though too. Cause right. And some people are just deer hunting.
Yeah.
You're hunting a deer.
Yeah. So when I get a new piece, I want to know everything I can about it. And that's what's kind of hurting me about this new place I was just kind of hinting at in Indiana. It's so big. It takes me like every day. I'm like, what's over there? What's over there? But if it's like a smaller piece, or like what you need to do is chunk it out. Like I said earlier, like I'm understanding of myself that I'm probably not going to kill a deer on this piece this year. So I need to learn everything that I can about it. I'm scouting it. I'm walking up and down these ridges. I'm mapping it out. I'm marking deer trails. Ooh, these are rub lines. These are potential bedding areas. I can hang in this tree, this tree, and this tree. This is where I can park, and this is where I can access. And so I'm super aggressive. And then especially once I got those tree stands, those observations / kind of in the game, kind of out of the game sets, I'm out. I'm not going back in there until I write down the wind direction and the conditions I need to be in that stand. And then I'm not going back in there again. And now if I'm in that stand and I see a deer that I want, then I am 100% back on. And I am very aggressive. You're going to miss opportunities if you're half on the gas, half off the gas. So you either need to be all the way out, or you need to be all the way in, breathing down that dude's neck while he's sleeping.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's easy. I think a lot of people really get overzealous before they have any intel on what to go off of. So they maybe encroach a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. And they blow it before they even create an opportunity.
They should have been scouting that day instead of actually hunting.
Instead of hunting, right?
And something I want to make a point to is like, this is me. This is my style. This is what I enjoy doing. If you like, a lot of people have private pieces where they do food plots, and like, I'm not the type to try to get the deer to come to me. I'm going to the deer. And if I bomb it and blow it, I just got to go find another one, you know? So it's like, I'm not walking on eggshells. That's another thing about private land is I always feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Like, I only got this little piece. I don't want to mess it up. Where when I'm on public and I'm all the way on and I'm, you know, going all over the place, I have way more I see way more big deer doing that than I do like walking on eggshells on a piece of private. But if I know deer is on the piece of private, I'm going to suck it up and do it. But
yeah. So you enjoy public probably a little bit more than
I would definitely do. Just because it's more freeing. I can stretch my leg. I can get out and move. Like I don't like sitting all day, even though I do it all the time. I don't want to. I just love the act of actually hunting and not sitting and waiting. I'm kind of like the Midwestern hybrid hunter. Like I killed most of my deer on the ground. You know, it's just the way it ends up sometimes.
Yeah, I like that. When I think hunter too, I think proactive, right? Somebody that goes in and gets after it and actually makes the opportunity versus someone that's passive that really waits around. And I guess there's each style has its own effect, right?
Yeah.
You can, passive hunter, especially East Coast, you see a lot more of that. Sit in a tree stand, hang and wait. But I like the guy that goes out, and that's what I think when I think hunter, someone that goes out and pursues the game and then capitalizes on it and makes it happen.
And that's just a self-reflection. You looking in the mirror and be like, what are my strengths and how do I leverage them? And I'm not the one I don't have the opportunity yet because there's a lot of good people. There's a lot of people that kill mega giants, setting up properties, developing a property farm, like really doing that aspect of it. And that's just not who I am. It's not what I like to do. So if that's your cup of tea, go for it, man. I hope you're successful. But yeah. It's just I'm trying to relate to that other crowd.
Yeah, I like that. So what about when you see new guys? So new guys getting into the game, or some like your biggest learning curves when it comes to mistakes that you see scouting new property. And we've probably covered it a little bit already, but what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made, and what are some of the lessons that you learned from it, or mistakes that you see people can consistently make, new guys getting into it?
Definitely, first and foremost is you're not 100% committed into scouting that day. You need to make sure all your ducks in a row, your home life and all that kind of stuff are ready to go. And your sole purpose on this day is scouting this piece of property, because that's going to pay dividends in the future when you're asking for time away from your family. Your time in the future actively hunting is more effective that way. So you need to go in there with everything that you need. You're packing in food and water, and you got your backpack full of trail cameras if you're using them, and you got your you got the map downloaded. You're in there for one purpose, and you're going to take your time and deliberately search that property, and that's your purpose for the day, or multiple days, whatever you got to do. And then the next one, hold on, I got to bring it back. Dang, I had a really good one.
Your purpose.
Hold on. Afraid to make mistakes. Because if you're afraid to go in there and blow a deer out, and you don't want to spook them, and you can't hunt like that. You can't be afraid to make mistakes. You got to know they're already going to happen. Like, you are not a caveman anymore. You are a modern society, Instagram scrolling, phone texting, driving, you know what I mean? Like, we're not who we used to be. So you're going to make these mistakes regularly, and you just need to accept that depending on what your goals are, you're not going to kill me, for instance. Like, I'm not going to kill a deer every year, and that's okay. Right. I know that's part of the process, and eventually it's going to happen. So I'm perfectly comfortable with that, and I'm okay with busting deer. It happens all the time.
Yeah. And I guess you're never going to find deer too unless you bump them.
Absolutely.
That's kind of part of it.
Because then you bump them and you're like, dang, why was he here?
And that's the best way to learn.
Absolutely. Because if you're just sitting in a stand not seeing anything day after day after day, it's like, man, you're getting discouraged. You're not learning anything. It's like, yeah. So that would be my two, is being completely dedicated the day that you're picking to scout, and don't be afraid to mess things up, and take your time.
Yeah. Section
your property out, pick a section, focus on that, however big it is, however long you think you can go. Or maybe that's time-based. You're like, man, I only got 2 hours, so that shrinks my time. Or I'm out here all day, or I'm camping for the weekend, grow that area out and really take the time to learn that property. That way, in the middle of the year, when you see a deer crest a hillside, you're like, I know it's on the other side of that hill. He's probably bedded right here. Now this is how I'm going to make my move. The wind acts this certain direct way over there. And then you start making moves, making game plans.
So it's almost like a mission planning, essentially, that goes into it prior to you even getting into the woods, so that you make the most out of your time when you are in the woods scouting.
Yeah, like you need to have the home prep
ready to go.
Exactly. But you're not going to get everything you need from reading a map or doing Onyx and all that. It gives you this great tool, gives you a big leg forward, especially when you're trying to get out of the woods in the dark.
Yeah, but, no doubt.
But you need to have the boots on the ground and understand that it's going to take you a while.
Right. Yeah, I think those are all really great points. It's the more prepared you are going into this, the more successful you'll be. And I think the more tuned in you'll be, because if you haphazardly go out and just kind of wander through the woods, I'm scouting. It's like, no, you're hiking through the woods, man. You're not really, there's no purpose.
Yep.
Right. If you have that purpose going in there, you, like you said, you section out areas, you put all your effort into it, you're going to come away a lot more successful and honestly get a lot more intel as to what's going on in the areas that you're scouting.
Yeah. And don't be glued to that map either. Like, put your phone in your pocket and be present in the woods right there. I mean, it sucks sometimes because I'll be like, okay, I'm done for the day and I'm 2 miles from the truck and I got to cross a river.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, I didn't expect that to happen. But like, I got all that intel on the way in there, and it's like, is this a good spot or not? And then probably the most important things are going to an area and it's not where you want to be. Exit out. Don't worry about it ever again. Find another spot.
Yep.
You know, because I got bit a couple years ago. Like, I had all these spots that I thought were good, and now I'm just a ping pong ball going all over the place instead of focusing on one, waiting for the conditions. And that's what happened when I killed that buck 2 years ago. Is I knew exactly where I needed to be, and I knew exactly what the wind and weather. And I mean, it was warm that day. It was early November, and I was in a t-shirt and a pair of those Fall Raven pants you gave me from that bow tournament I got in 2018. I still wear every day. But like, and it was hot, but the conditions were perfect otherwise.
Yeah, it's amazing how whenever you're confident going into the woods, just how everything's different.
Yep.
It's such a good feeling.
Yep. You got to be completely committed. When you're in the woods to hunt, that is the only thing you're doing today. So walk quietly, hang your set quietly. Like, when people tell me that, oh, I can hang my set in 3 minutes, I was like, you probably don't kill too many things because you're making all kinds of noise. So it's like, you just got to be meticulous about that kind of stuff and commit. That's probably my number 3 as far as like the scouting thing you said, like what to do if it started out. Just be committed.
Commit to it.
Yep.
What about land access etiquette, right? Public versus private. You know, there is an etiquette, especially if you know other people are hunting it. I mean, what do you kind of look for, or what would you explain to somebody?
I don't want to take anything from anybody, obviously. I want everybody to have a good experience in the woods and stuff. And there's only so much public land. You know what I mean? So, and you have just as much of a right to it as everybody else. So if I see it depends on my confidence level, really. If I'm just going in to scout and stuff, I'm not going to go trampling through the woods and blowing up a bunch of people's spots and stuff like that. I'll probably pack it in. But if I know a deer's in the area, I'm going to walk right under your tree stand to get to where I need to be. You know, it's like, so there, it just depends on what the situation is, I guess. But yeah. And accessing, I'm usually doing something different enough to where I don't have to do that. So that's another litmus test.
And as far as like etiquette too, I mean, one of the things is you talked about with the private side of things is you had access to this particular land or property, but you had to go through 3 other properties to get there, and you did your due diligence and you went to each of those houses. You've got written permission versus just kind of haphazardly wandering through those other properties to get to where you needed to be.
Yeah, that's definitely, you got to play by the rules, because otherwise whatever you kill doesn't matter.
Yes.
You know, if you're breaking the rules to do something, and that's like, there's so many, dude, with thermal drones and getting into trail cameras and property access. You hear it every single year of people misusing those things. And it's like, and you got to think about that stuff too. A lot of the stuff you see on social media, it could be done that way, and you have no way of proving otherwise. So take that stuff with a grain of salt.
Man, there's so much I've learned being involved in this particular industry.
Brother.
More recently, especially about, you know, everyone's situation is different. Some people have some really, really good access to some really, and pay high dollar to go hunt animals that your everyday blue collar guy is never going to have access to, right? They just can't go hunt those massive ranches and stuff, and probably aren't going to kill that massive bull or whitetail every year like you see in some of those. So you got to kind of, social media creates this false sense of what hunting really is for people. And it's a deterrent for a lot of people, I think, as well. Cause it's like, I'll never live up to that when that's not the reality.
Yeah. It'll definitely skew your thought process in the woods too. It'll make you make bad decisions, but you don't own that ranch. Well, I'll just speak for me personally. I don't own that ranch, but I can find a deer that big. It ain't going to be every year. But I'm telling you what, they are out there. Because I was on another deer that, so I only knew of 2 deer that I wanted to kill last year, and one was the one that I wounded and showed you about, and then the other one was way bigger. But then after I wounded that deer, I found him the next day, watched him all day, couldn't make a move on him. That evening, I called out a thermal drone to do that, because I thought for sure. I watched him go down twice. I watched him crawl under a fence, blood everywhere. I was like, dude, he's got to expire somewhere. And I didn't want, my justification was, I don't want to blow this property up and put more pressure on the area of me just walking around and doing stuff. So like, let's do this drone thing. And that's when I learned a bunch of stuff about drone laws and all that kind of stuff. And basically, there aren't any. Like, that dude told me that I could fly a drone, and as long as it's on the ground, I could go hunting. So if I flew a drone midday and found the deer that I wanted, I could go land that drone and set up on them. And that, to me, is not cool.
That's interesting. I didn't realize. I thought for sure that was not.
I mean, maybe it's changed since November of last year. It's definitely state dependent.
Yeah, the drone laws are kind of gray anyways. I actually talked to, not that long ago, a guy that flies drones for something for, I don't remember if it was for like developments.
Agriculture does it a lot.
It was for something, but because we were using drones for little bits for like video footage, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's not, you're not allowed to do that either without a special license, apparently. Yeah. It's not, I mean, it's no one like regulates, but it's like, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have a specific license in order to use that for like video content.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird, and I probably won't do it again. I'm glad I did it to learn about it and do my due diligence and know that deer wasn't on my property to be able to, but like, dude, we were 4 miles away grid searching cornfields and stuff like that. And I was like, that's great and all, but it's like, dude, now I'm on a property that I don't even have access to. And I'm going to go knock on this door and be like, yo, I flew a drone over here. My deer's dead in your cornfield. Can I go get it? No. And that's just, I think it's like, if you're going to do it, it's got to maintain on the properties that you have permission to. And dude, they're huge. They're loud. They're obstructive. It's just like, I don't know. I'm still, the jury's out on that one. I don't know what my decision is.
It's like anything else.
Yeah.
Try it, figure it out, see if it's for you.
Yeah.
Cool. If not,
I'm just mad I didn't find that deer.
Yeah, I know. That was a hoss.
Yeah. But with that too, I found that other deer that I wanted to go after, and he was also injured in a neighboring cornfield. And it's now like, oh, that deer now both deer that I was after in this area, they were both on the same lot. And it's like, now I have confirmation that this deer is hurt and probably never going to see it again. And it's like, now that completely changes my whole process for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like, morally, was that the right thing? You know, so it's like, I don't know, man. It's weird.
Yeah. Go back and forth with it.
Yeah.
What about number one overlooked feature that kills bucks? I mean, what is like one of the number one overlooked things in your experience or eyes that people tend to miss when it comes to getting on, you know,
they don't look.
Bucks? They don't look.
They just stick with what they have and just ride it out, ride or die. I mean, maybe that's fine. Like if you have a piece of property and you have fun going out there and filling your tags on it, that's whatever. But if you're trying to climb that ladder, you just need to realize that your spider web needs to grow exponentially to be able to get on that next caliber of buck. Because like I said, you're going to kill one somewhere and then you might lose that property. The chances of another buck being on there the next year, maybe not that high depending on where it is and stuff. So, you definitely got to cast a wide net and you got to be willing to look.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of people get that paralysis by analysis. They get locked in an area, they put the blinders on, and they're like, this is it, and they don't expand their horizon and seek out whether it's additional properties, different areas of public land. They really get locked into an area, and that's this is it.
And once you commit to that, dude, you'll start to notice that these deer are kind of everywhere. Like there are big deer all over the place that's another fascinating thing about a whitetail is how they are able to elude the common person. And it's like once you do a little bit of uncommon things and you start catching glimpses of these things, it's like, dude, my really good friend killed a 180 in city limits on 2 acres last year. An absolute, and it's a typical mainframe 10-point, a perfect 180. That is a unicorn.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I was talking about someone else with the, what is it called when you hunt within the city?
Urban
hunting. I don't know why that's been eluding me for the last 3 days.
Urban
hunting. Man, how it's a little bit different, right? Because they're so used to people and scent, and like hunting them is a little bit different. I mean, because you're hunting them in a backyard.
Yeah.
You know, so you can get away with a little bit more. It's just a different style of hunting.
And it just comes down to whatever you have access to. I used to have a couple pieces like that. And if you want to hunt, you'll hunt what you have. But that's also not the lifestyle that I want either. So I travel a little bit further to get out into the woods. Yeah. But I mean, if I found that deer and I had access to it, you bet your bottom on it to be on it. It's like, I was so happy for this guy.
Kill it out of a kid's like swing set.
I mean, that happens all the time.
Oh yeah, I was out back barbecuing, man. Grabbed my bow, smoked one. Now I'm in a magazine with this monster.
Yeah, dude.
No effort required.
Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing when you gotta look at social media stuff. You don't know that whole backstory.
You don't, man.
So
it's funny. All right, mobile or permanent sets? Do you use both, or are you just mobile, or are you pre-hanging sets?
I don't have a single pre-hung set, but I do have screw-in steps on private properties that I have permission to that I will use as observation sits or go-to sits. If I know the wind's right, I'll go in there. But 99% of the time, I'm still in my hang-on stand. Like I still have to hang it at the top of those sets, but I'm a mobile dude for sure.
Yeah, I am too. I like it. I like the freedom. I like not being locked into a specific area.
And like I said, I had to move 3 times that day.
Do that with a ladder stand.
Good luck. Quietly.
Yeah. Did you ever put up a ladder stand by yourself?
Oh yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And dude, they make too much noise. Like just when you're in them, they're creaking and wobbling. And
I'll tell you what they're great for in my, like with kids.
100%.
It's awesome for it, man. Cause me and Gavin would go set up in them, and, you know, he enjoyed it when he was littler. Now I got him. He's got his own mobile setup. So this year is the year for him. We'll be back in Kentucky. I'll probably hopefully be there at least twice this year. Once by myself.
Yep.
And then once with him. But he'll be climbing everything on his own this year. I told him, I'm like, bro, the 2 guys in one tree, me climbing and hanging everything.
Not going to happen.
No, man.
Yeah. I mean, I killed my first deer by myself. Like, 'cause my dad wasn't a hunter growing up, and he got into it because I wanted to do it. And so I wasn't hanging sets, but I mean, I was sitting in a tree stand by myself almost like from day one. I mean, we would sit on the ground and stuff together, and we definitely did the whole father-son thing. But I mean, it was solo a lot. But yeah, it'll be good for him.
That's it, man. So favorite hunting story that you got for us, man? I know you've had some bangers, man. You've killed some really good deer. And one of my favorite ones that I always go back to is that one where you had eyes on that deer. You got down and you put a stalk on him, and you're like, I shot him in self-defense.
Oh yeah. That was cool. And there was also the Arizona story.
Okay. I haven't.
The mule deer I killed in Arizona.
Yeah, this is a good one too.
So it's either like they can both be pretty quick. The one we'll do the Ohio buck that I shot in self-defense is like, I was after that deer. I missed him twice, 2 separate times. I missed him. And, that was me also learning bow setups and micro diameter arrows with large fixed blade heads and just unforgiving setups. Since made some changes and everything's kind of squared away now. But like, was looking for that deer, couldn't find him. Was scouting and driving around midday, and I watched him with a doe in the middle of a CRP field, and I circled around. Got permission on a piece of property to walk through their backyard to get in on this place where I already had permission on one spot, but I had to access it completely different than what I normally did to get the wind right. Yeah, and I crawled in on that dude, did the old Cherokee Mohican sneak and got in there. Missed him again because he was out. I seen him. I ranged him for 34 yards. and he went back. He was all over this doe. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, because he was keeping her away from another buck that was on the other hillside right across from us. So he was more worried about him, had no idea I was there. I ranged him. He jumped into the CRP again to make sure she didn't move. When he came back out, he was at like 12 yards. My sight was dialed to 30 something. Sailed it right in between his antlers. And then he went back in there, grunted. And then I moved closer because he went back to that doe, crawled in there. And he was on that doe, and I was in between him and that other buck now. And I snort wheezed at him like the and he like puffed up, and his like eyes came sideways, and he's like coming in to kill me, like is what it looked like. And I drew my bow under the grass, and he was at 8 yards. I stood up and shot him, dropped him in his tracks right there.
I didn't realize it was that close.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
and
a
like
killer
his ears
story.
were pinned back, he's all puffed up, and he was a big deer regardless, and he looked twice the size, and he was right in front of me. That was the first year I was using the B3 Ranger hinge release. So it's like I'm in the danger zone, and I'm trying to work this release and get it to go off.
Shot process was clean.
Oh,
man.
yeah, and dropped him right there. And that was because I only have a 3-arrow quiver. Shot and missed. Shot him with that one, and put my other arrow in there. Put another one in him at point blank to make sure he didn't go anywhere. And so I quiver dump 8 yards. So that was nuts.
About to go hand to hand with this bad boy.
Yeah, but honestly, one of my favorite stories I haven't told was the mule deer in full velvet in September in Arizona. So I was stationed out there working on the Navajo Indian Reservation in a hospital for medical training before a deployment. And I had military orders there, therefore I was able to get a resident tag. And I got an archery mule deer tag that was only good in so many zones. And I begged the doctor at the hospital to let me hunt like 1 day a week. And he finally, but I had to make up all my hours during the other. So I like, dude, I'm working like 20-hour days just so I can hunt that 1 day. And I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm in a rental car. I flew my bow out there and whatever stuff. And it took me 3 days to even figure out where I could even go. Or it took me 1 day to figure out where I could even had access to. Another day just to figure out how to traverse this terrain because it's so different than anything. And then on the third day, I actually got into a bachelor group of bucks and was able to put a stock on him and got it done on a full velvet 5x5 mule deer in Arizona. And I was leaving a couple days afterwards. So now I have this huge deer. I have a Kia Soul rental car. So I had like quartered it out, packed it out, put it in a tarp that I got at the gas station, went to another gas station to get 4 separate coolers. So now I got I had 5 coolers, one with each quarter, one with the back straps and the head and the cape. And I took it back to the hospital. I ended up donating that to the Indian reservation, and they were like so thankful. They were so impressed I killed it with a bow, and we ended up getting it shoulder mounted, and they shipped it out for me and all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome.
So that's another really cool
That
one.
was a far shot though on that mule deer.
Oh, it was not comfortable. I mean,
if I remember correctly, it was like 70 yards.
yeah, it was like 72 yards, which I mean, out there, man, that's kind of the norm.
Got to.
Not here, but out there, it's kind of the norm because it's like, dude, it's wide open. It's hard to get in on these things. It's easy to find them, but getting within that, and it was the last day. So I kind of sent a Hail Mary, and he didn't run far. He ran a less distance than what I shot. He only went like 50 yards and skidded out and smoked him. That was with a Rage broadhead, Easton FMJ arrow.
Oh, FMJ.
Blazer vanes. The Hoyt RX3 still missed that bow. That was a good one.
That's funny, man.
But
that's a killer story, man. I mean, that the last day, everything just that's like
never being out there before.
Yeah.
And just to go out there and figure it out and be 100% present on those 3 days that I had to hunt. Paid off big time. Still have that deer in my house today.
That's funny. I always think back to the guy that was with you.
Oh yeah. Had no idea what was going on.
He was just there.
Yeah. Cause we had to share one rental car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, we can do whatever you want these other 6 days, but on Sundays, we are going to the woods. And he had a great time. Like, he had fun. Like, we seen elk and bugling in the mornings and stuff like that. It was like, because it's a very rare situation to even have a tag in Arizona, you know? But, I don't know. I think he got a lot out of it.
Yeah, it sounded like it, man. It's a killer story.
It was funny.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That's good times. That's one of the things I remember is you talking about that guy. He's like, he has no idea what's going on.
Yep. And it's like, so you have like these stories that are kind of unique. They only happen like once every so often, like calling in a deer. You know what I mean? Most people in our areas do not have that, can't do that, or traveling. But then my biggest deer was super benign. 2 years ago, like you said, I just waited for the wind. I knew where I needed to be. I went in there, shot him at 8 a.m. and that was it.
Predictable hunt.
Very, very predictable. And it was just like, so it's like there's two completely separate situations.
The stories that require all the effort and the struggles and, you know, those are such good stories to hear and tell. I mean, that's exciting because, you know, you see guys like, wow, I killed this monster deer. What'd you do? I got in there, you know, 8 o'clock, he came in like he was supposed to and I shot him versus, you know, we put a stalk on this deer through the Arizona terrain, the rocky terrain. There's rattlesnakes out there.
Yep.
You know, we're driving a Kia Soul rental car with a dude who's never hunted, who's struggling. You know, that's such a good story.
Yeah. And then another cool story is my wife's cousin was like, he's like growing. He's kind of a younger dude, just a mammoth human. Like he just hit growing spurts and like didn't have a bow that fit him. So I killed my buck with my Mach 1. And the next day I let
You had the Mach 1?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Nice.
I killed my buck, and the next day I let him borrow my Mach 1, and he killed a 162 mainframe 8-pointer with it. Like, he was on a giant deer, and he's like, dude, I don't have a bow. And I was like, dude, take mine. So it was like, in 3 days, that Mach 1 killed a 154 and a 162 in 3 days.
Jesus.
Yeah, with 2 different people. Yeah.
That's not how it's supposed to go, guys.
No, but
get fitted, go to your shop. Now's the time to be in your shop. Season's almost here. Go in, check out the new PSE bows. I can assure you, you will love them. The Mach 30, if you're looking for a 30-inch ATA, the 33, which we're getting ready to shoot here in just a minute. And
super excited about that. I loved that Mach 1. I mean, I still have it.
Dude.
Like, I won't get rid of it.
I didn't know you still had that bow.
Oh, yeah. Spray painted up, dude. That thing's got some kills on it, man.
It is mean, man. I like all your stuff because whenever like if we had to line up bows and I had to pick Levi's bow out of the bunch, I could because you can tell like this is a killing machine.
Yeah.
It's rattle canned. There's no black on it, you know, because I always go back to like black accessories on there. You were talking about, you were observing guys who were, they were for the sniper course. They were stalking.
Yeah. They were prepping for mask, that course. So they were doing like a little, prep school, I guess you could say, for it. And I was helping those dudes spotting and stuff. And it was like, dude, people wearing any black stuff or had black stuff on their weapons and stuff, like it was the first thing I was able to pick out. And I was like, never again. Dude.
That's good.
Another one is the silver limb bolts, you know, cover those things up too. Like I can't.
So you're a firm believer in, you know, you want to disappear into the woods.
Absolutely.
Everything's to your advantage.
Not just, I don't want other deer to see, like I don't want the deer to see me. I don't want other people to see me.
That's how I
either.
am.
You know
like
what I mean?
Disappear, man. I want to be able to set my bow down and not see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you have to do that? Probably not, but it definitely helps. Maybe you do, because like I was 8 feet off the ground on that deer. Like I'm in his peripheral vision. And if you got flashy stuff, you're going to get picked off for sure.
That's it. All great info, man. Dude, Levi, thanks for coming by, man. I appreciate you making the flight down from Indiana and making the time to come by and see me on the 4th of July. A great day to talk hunting.
Absolutely, man. I love doing this. Whatever helps people out.
Yeah.
Because it is a struggle. It's hard. It's only getting harder, especially when it comes to access and stuff like that. So it's like, when you need help, man, reach out, dude. This is what I do. So I'd love to help somebody else out.
I love it, man. Thanks again, dude. So that's another episode of the American Bowhunter, the official podcast of PSE, America's Bow. I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July, safe 4th of July, because you know, this will be out after the holidays over, but I hope everybody still got all their fingers intact.
Absolutely. Those ERs are going to be pumping.
Yes, they are. So that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. Drop some comments. Give us some feedback. Let us know your thoughts on all of the latest podcasts that we've dropped. Appreciate it, guys.